Hello there, it's an absolute pleasure to have you join us on this second edition of the People's Parliament right here in Kabale, where we are exploring the role of the policymakers and other educators in the promotion of sexuality education and sexual reproductive health and rights services respectively. My name is Rami Busiku and I'm your speaker as usual, and we shall be hearing it from the District Community Development Officer, the District Education Officer and the teenagers themselves who have been affected. Remember, according to the facts that we've received as NTV Uganda, 68% of the young girls in this country get involved in sexual acts before the age of 18. And for the boys, that percentage has been kept at 62%. It's a very callous development, and that's why we are here, back in Kabale, to aggregate and find solutions to these problems. 5,000 girls have been impregnated in this jurisdiction only. And across the country, yes, the numbers are really debilitating. So let's hear it from the District Community Development Officer right there.
Right, Honorable Speaker. This issue we are talking about, first of all, I'm in charge of promoting and protecting the rights of the vulnerable children, or the rights of the vulnerable people, and the adolescents are among those vulnerable population. Right, Honorable Speaker, I have been working for the last 24 years, engaging communities, implementing programs geared towards adolescent reproductive health, and I have come to learn that there are very many facilitating factors that lead younger girls and boys to engage in early sexuality. And one of them is the lack of life skills among the younger people. Do these younger people know how to negotiate for sex? Do they know how to communicate? Because communication is about not only about using the mouth, the body communication. Younger people who are with us in this People's Parliament, you know men are the most dangerous creature on earth. Even if you don't talk, but your body language can show whether you are likely to give in or not. But as a young people, empowered to understand and know how to encounter such issues, the answer is yes, to a very small extent, but to a big extent, no. Another issue is about poverty. They talked about poverty, but they didn't elaborate, some of my colleagues. The moment, first of all, the most expensive child to nurture is a girl child. The girl child has a lot of needs, and the moment a parent fails to fulfill those needs, the child will look for alternative sources of survival. And those sources, they are likely to get them from the dangerous creature, the money. So ladies and gentlemen who are listening to me, the moment you have a child who is a girl, she must be provided with all the basic needs. You may not stop her to engage in sexuality, but you contribute to the reduction of early sexuality. Another one is about domestic violence. The Machiga used to fight. The parents fight. The moment you fight, the children become traumatized at home. And to get refuge is to run away from the homes. And to get refuge, they are likely to get refuge from their colleagues, peers, the boys, or the dangerous creature, that is the man. And the man will not use protected, he will not engage in protected sex, he will use in unprotected sex. Another one, it is, these girls, some of them are raped, and without their consent. If they are raped and they become pregnant, should they be blamed? They shouldn't be blamed. So ladies and gentlemen, some of you have never encountered with a younger girl who is pregnant or who is breastfeeding, with self-denial, rejected by the community, rejected by the parent, denied education, even trying to commit suicide. As a community development workers, we have been encountering or getting such cases. Somebody is coming, crying, with a baby, that is a child mother, with a baby, she wants to commit suicide. We have been encountering those issues. So that's why I'm saying that the issue we are discussing today is very sensitive and delicate to the target audience. Delicate so that whoever is here, when he goes back, he should know that girls and boys are born equal and free in this society. But the society we are in puts girls in a more vulnerable situation than boys. Okay? That is the point. They put the girls become more vulnerable than boys. And as we discuss the strategies to address teenage pregnancy in Kabale or in Uganda, we should not put the blame, all the blame to girls. everybody has to be blamed. The parent, the girls themselves, the community, the government, which is not facilitating interventions fully to address teenage pregnancy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a pertinent issue, and I hope this people's parliament could periodically be held in Kabale so that we can address this card. I thank you.
Thank you very much for your humble submission. Of course, if you talk to some teenagers, they will say the parents have not done enough to avail sexual reproductive health information to them. And one of those young people is twin Mariam. She's only 22, and she's going to be giving us that humble submission. Only 10% of the parents in this country are willing to talk about sexuality education. Atwini, take over.
Well, I have a problem with the parental support. Most times, when most parents don't engage in their children's education, most likely their children are going to drop out. For example, let's talk about the village parents. Some parents have not studied enough, so they feel like their children have studied more than they have. So most children, after learning and gaining too much education, they tend to, the parents become inferior to them. So I think parents should always engage in their children's academic issues for us not to actually drop out of school. The parents should always be the head. Your voice should matter more than my voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Atwini Mariam. That is a very, very great submission. I also do have Musimenta Ivas. But as it is, the information we are getting is that 115 young women in Africa are in forced marriages. If we do not do anything by 2030, that number will hike up to 150 million young girls in forced marriages. Yes, Musimenta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have one issue that we young girls we are experiencing, and the issue is forced marriages. You find a man, he wants to marry a girl, then after she dumps her. Then this has been a very bad issue. So I ask, how are you going to help us, we young girls, to reduce these cases?
Has someone approached you, Musimenta, with marriage? You're only 17 years. Yes. Has someone approached you with a marriage proposal? You're only 17. But this is a problem that is affecting other girls in your area?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Musimenta.
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it from the humble submission. Really great. Let's hear it from the district education officer of the Kabale district so that you help us understand some of the queries that have been made by these young people. The role of the parents, the men who are lying to these young girls with marriage proposals that never come about after these girls get pregnant. What is happening within Kabale?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And dear parliamentarians, my name is Tungische Moses, Acting District Education Officer. I want to begin by giving you statistics of school dropouts and how they impact on teenage pregnancy. I have sampled the P7 class which we have in Kabale district. So our candidate class of P7, we have an enrollment of 2,988. Then this is 2020. And
1,998. That's the enrollment.
That is the enrollment of P7 in Kabale district. So I have sampled the enrollment when they were in P1. They were in P1, they were 4,899. An indication that 1,911 pupils dropped out from P1 up to P7. So that is an indication that it is a representation of 38% of the learners who dropped out during that period. Since 2014, in one class, from when they were in P1 up to P7. And where do they go?
That is 38%.
That is 38%.
And remember, the national tally is at 42%.
So now, when these learners go now outside the school life, they are the people. These are the girl children get married, Others, they go to provide child labor wherever they go, and while they are there, they get tempted into sexual intercourse, and sometimes the girl children end up becoming pregnant. That means some of them get pregnant when it is not intended. So, and children should be by choice, not by chance. So now, as an educationist, I continue talking about education line. So these learners who drop out, majority of them, especially the young girls, they start producing children at that early age. And finally, some of them, there are those who are raped, there are those who are defiled because they don't have the information, they are defiled. And most of what is challenging, most of these children, when they report, let's say, to police, sometimes the police, the parents of these children connive with the perpetrators, and sometimes when we don't have evidence, they end up, sometimes you hear they went outside, they even asked for dowries. And sometimes what annoys, you find even sometimes the religious leaders go ahead even to witness and permanently make these marriages legal in church, let's say in church. So we appeal now to the parents to ensure that all these children are given equal rights, equal freedoms, are treated equally, then they remain in schools. One of the challenges we have, for instance, in this period after the outbreak of COVID-19, now the children were left in the hands of the parents. And this is the time now where we are seeing high numbers of teenage pregnancies. Because the parents are not doing their right job. Even in the communities, some parents are complaining, some of them are complaining that at least you take the children, meaning they don't provide their right education or rather the right choice of educating their learners while at home. When the learners are at school, we have got senior men teachers and senior women teachers. So senior women teachers play a role of making sure that the girl children are given all the reproductive health information. So it is what is lacking, and because it is lacking, that's why most of the teenage girls are getting pregnant, because the parents or guardians are not doing their right role. So we appeal to parents and the community, even the government, to ensure that our girl children stay longer in schools if we are to avoid teenage pregnancy in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That is the District Education Officer for Kabale District. He says the school dropout rate within this region is 38%. It's a callous development because if you look at the entire Uganda, that number is 42.9%. My name is Romeo Busuka, and of course you're still watching the People's Parliament. Let's take a short breather. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the People's Parliament. We are still streaming live from the Kabale District Headquarters, where we are trying to explore the role of the policymakers and other educators in the promotion of sexuality education and also sexual reproductive health and rights services, respectively. At this opportune moment, we are going to engage some of the religious leaders that have been accused of marrying off young girls. So what does that mean? And what are some of the submissions from the members of the religious bodies? Reverend Father Januario Nomgisha is the Director for Youth and Children for Kabale. Yes, sir. Come and help us understand some of these callous accusations that are coming in. You're marrying off 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds at the expense of the well-being of these young adolescents. What exactly is happening, Mr. Januario Nomgisha? It's like there's a lack of goodwill from religious to implement some of these policies we've put in place to disseminate sexuality education information.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and everyone here. In response to that, there is surely goodwill amongst the religious leaders, because a religious leader holds that position by God's call, and actually they work amongst us as prophets trying to put us right, that we do things in accordance with God's will. And therefore, whatever the religious leader does, they are trying to see that it is in consonance, it runs in consonance with God's ordinances, so that we don't go wrong, because we know we are here to do God's will, so that at the end of the day we get to heaven. And therefore, whatever the religious leader is doing is trying to help God's flock to get there.
Why is there too much opposition from religious leaders when it comes to matters sexuality education?
I don't think it is too much. Maybe there is lack of understanding from each other, the two. Okay, I would put it this way, that maybe the government needs to understand the church's approach. For example, like use of contraceptives. Like so many people would think that maybe if you give these children maybe a condom or pills, so that maybe they use them during sex or before, maybe it's the best approach to stop pregnancies. That is intrinsically evil. It may surely stop the pregnancies, but aren't we, in that regard, trying to say we fear pregnancies other than fearing the law of God? Point for thought.
Mr. January.
God's stand. Are we probably, would it be good if we ended up like Sodom and Gomorrah by, saying, let children use contraceptives, avoid pregnancies, and maybe at the end of the day we find ourselves and probably saying, they have feelings, let them, it's their right, let them do whatever they feel like doing, and maybe you find ourselves into lesbianism and maybe gayism, homosexuality. So
you believe sexuality education can culminate into homosexuality, lesbianism, and so forth?
It may, to some extent, also lead to that. To some extent. Because we are, in this regard, removing God from the scene. What does God talk about that? Do you know the 6th commandment, probably for the Christians? We are not supposed to fornicate. We are not supposed to go for sex outside wedlock. And by saying we are completely confiding in use of contraceptives, probably, I think there we go wrong. So I would love to add this, that it's corporate duty. It's the role of us, the parents, to befriend our children and educate them and provide them with reproductive health education. I love it when probably the parents befriend their daughters to the extent that this girl, even when a boy comes and tells her, I want to be your boyfriend, this girl even introduces the boyfriend to the mother or to the dad, so that the parents can guide their children, and probably that could be one of the ways through which our children can probably be a distance from early teenage pregnancies.
The stand of the Reverend Father Nomgisha, the stand of the faith-based organizations is still abstinence. You're still calling for abstinence rather than use of contraception.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you so much. You will bear with me, dear members of this house and people out there, that in primary, probably P5, P6, at least in my case, we had senior women teachers who would confine young girls in some place, and I think they would give them tips about how to go about health reproductive issues. Is that still going on? Is it being put into practice? How about these other lessons about reproduction? Remember, sometimes teachers would even come with sticks. Today, no laughing, because they are going to talk about such serious matters. I think those would also try to put us in the line. And as I called it, corporate duty. Yes, let senior women and if there are any senior men do their roles, because as we talk about the girls, teenagers getting pregnancy, we should not rule out the boys who impregnate them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Januari. Reverend Father Januari Nomgisha, that was a great submission. We need to empower the young boys with other development activities so that they do not impregnate our girls. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to hear from some of the teenagers, boys and girls alike, and the members of the audience. Yes, right there behind.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this great opportunity. I stand before you, Navimanya Danson. So, the increase of about 5,000 teenage pregnancies has been associated with a lot of factors within Kabale, town, villages, and not only Kabale, Uganda at large. So what is the key factor? We are trying to advocate for conceptive methods to prevent these ladies from getting pregnant other than protecting themselves from the bigger harm which could end their lifestyles. What am I trying to say? This is a person who is not informed that pregnancy can actually lead to death, and upon getting pregnant, because it was unprotected sex, you could have contracted hepatitis B, HIV, to mention but a few. We have to open our eyes. As we are giving these services, we have to also take an extra step of sensitizing our youth to carry out ways of preventing ourselves from HIV, which is skyrocketing every day because of the increase in sexuality that has not been addressed both at ground level from homes, second at schools, third in our religious, in our places of worship, whereby these things are looked at as abominations to be talked about. You only wait for a child to get to 25. When they are getting married, it is when you give them that sex talk, which will be too late. You'll be either giving it to a person who is already infected with HIV and they are not sure whether they are going to live tomorrow.
Mr. Naimani, would you recommend sex talk to start at the age of 8?
I want and lesser than that, as long as a child is of sound mind.
All right, go ahead. You have like a minute.
Yeah, so in 1 minute, I want to tell us that as we plan to calm down the effects of teenage pregnancies, we also have to think bigger about the sexually transmitted diseases that are killing us every day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nabimanya Denison. He is a student at Kampala International University. As you can see, he comes with a wealth of information on this subject. Preferably, I would like to hear from a lady. Remember, 68% of the young girls in our country get involved in sexual acts before the age of 18. For the young boys, that percentage has been kept at 62%. Very callous developments.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Kainji Gloria. I personally find that the parents are the most problem because they, like when they just like tell you everything that you need to do, e.g., like telling you need to get married to such a guy when you're still young, it leads to all kinds of problems. So, like, when you get married, your parents have forced you so they don't have the money to take care of you. You don't depend on them anymore. You go into another family, they too won't take care of you because they don't really care about you. They will impregnate you, they will invite their friends, leading to HIV and all other sorts of STIs. So the problem would be that you would get pregnant, get all sorts of discouragement, get discouraged because you don't really like yourself after you get pregnant at a young age. So I would really want to say that the parents are the main problem.
Thank you very much, Gloria, for that humble submission. The message has been sent home. 10% of the parents in this country are willing to talk about sexuality education. And remember, we have a very, very young population. 55% of the 42.7 million people in this country are young people under the age of 18 years. And if you look at those under the age of 25, that number has been kept at 77%. So we have majority of this population being young people. So we need to do more to avail adolescent sexual reproductive health and rights information to these young people. Let's hear it from members of the police force. I do have someone from the police. There she is. Please come and help us understand what are the recent statistics. Please come over. According to the Standing Strong Together project, they indicated that between January and May of this year, 4,442 young women were actually defiled. When I looked at the numbers around September, October, that number increased to 66,000 young people. But then in the respect of Kabale district, what are the numbers? We'd like to know. And we're also getting information that parents are conniving with the police force to actually set free the perpetrators who impregnate these young girls. Please, Kamisanga, help us understand what is happening.
Honorable Speaker, Parliamentarian, AIP Kamiranga Margaret, OC Child and Family Protection. The whole role goes to the parents on talking to their children, especially on the issue of early marriages, because it is the parent to make sure they sit down, they talk to their daughters.
Welcome back to the People's Parliament. We are still camped at the Kabale District Headquarters as we try to explore the role of the policymakers and other educators in the promotion of sexuality education and other sexual reproductive health and rights services, respectively. Let's hear it from the young people who are affected the most. Remember, Uganda's population being at 42.7%, we have the youngest population. 77% of those young people are under the age of 25, and 35% of those young people are under the age of 18. So let's hear it from some of the young people within the audience. Sir, take over the podium.
Yes, thank you very much, People's Parliament and the parliamentarians here. As a young man, I am not happy with the kind of numbers that we are putting up, especially with teenage pregnancies. And I would like to first of all emphasize the parents' major role, because we realize that it is during the lockdown that these numbers have skyrocketed. When they were with the teachers, realized that yes, the number was high, but it did not shoot up to this number. But I have a question, because in all our conversations, we did not concretely address who impregnates these girls. Most of the approaches that we are suggesting are towards the girl child. Please do not leave the boy child out of this, because when you put the girls aside and talk to them, they will, yes, they may get the information. When they go out, they will find boys who are not informed. First of all, who are not informed about contraceptives. Most of the information, even in print media, in adverts, family planning, seems to be a girls' or women's issue. That is getting the point wrong. Engage and emphasize consistent use of condoms. I will not agree with the religious stand, because adolescents have been told to abstain. It has not worked. I am not saying that abstinence will not work, but complement it
with some of the other options. Abstinence will work, yes, but when it doesn't work, please add something.
Okay, thank you very much for that humble submission. You have something final.
Please design gender accurate and age appropriate SRH information.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that humble submission. He comes with a wealth of information. We have the gentleman in the back putting on a maroon mask. Yeah, please come over.
I'm Dr. Thomas Geronad, a senior medical officer. I've worked in Kabale for the last 7 years. I would say that to prevent adolescent pregnancies, you need to address the challenge of lack of knowledge, both in parents, health workers, and other stakeholders, so that mainly they educate their adolescents, both boys and girls, on the consequences of having unprotected sex, so that they can know that they can have HIV, they can have pregnancy, cancer of the cervix, and infertility, and also encouraging them to be in recreational activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a lady right there. She has a humble submission also. Recommendations only, yes. Solutions to these problems in 2 to 3 minutes, so that we can hear from other people like Rukundo from FIDA Uganda and Maurice Tops Samuel also.
Once again, and parliamentarians, I want to talk about parenting. I'm a parent, but I want to call upon the parents to make sure that we provide information to our children, both boys and girls. For me, I'm emphasizing equal opportunity. In fact, in our tradition, we give the woman and the girl child the second class citizen. We don't give them equal opportunities. We need to come up and talk to our girls and equip them with life skills to negotiate for sex, to make informed decisions. Women and girls should know when and how many children to have, and so that they can also engage in productive work and contribute to our national development. I also want to react to the Reverend's submission, where he said that the children should not get information regarding sex. I want to say that Jesus is always patient with us. We commit all other sins, but we are not penalized or punished for committing the sins. We are giving a second chance to repent, and we get sermons every Sunday, but not all the sins are done with. So I want us to be patient also with the adolescents and young people, so that we give them information, so that they make informed decisions and make correct choices. We should equip them with skills to always make decisions, like choose the right friends, and then when they have the skills, they can say no to sex, they can say no to early marriage, they can talk to the parents that, look here, much as you are forcing me to get married, I have a right to live, I have a career to develop. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission. She comes with a wealth of information. We have another lady in August house. For purposes of gender equality, let's hear it from another lady with respect to the recommendations that we are seeking to alleviating the challenges of adolescent sexual reproductive health challenges that are plaguing our young people, who make up 55% of this population under the age of 18 and 77% under the age of 25. So you understand that Uganda's population is mainly made up of young people. Please go ahead. Your
My recommendation, as in this August house, we are all blaming parents, but we are forgetting that we have parents who really feel shy to talk before their children. To parents of that sort, I would encourage them that if you have a child, a girl child, and you fear to talk to her, use your friends. You have friends, they have their paternal aunts, you can send them there and they have this education. Also, we need community sensitization. To even these parents, they don't know how to handle their girl children. Some of them have never been to school. I got to know about all those issues from a senior woman teacher. My parents did not tell me about those things. So to those parents who are shy before their girls, really they need to be sensitized. Finally, to me, I think the police should take as you know that there are parents who connive with these perpetrators. Why do they don't encourage arrests of these parents? If there is evidence that some girl has been, raped, and the girl is there, you see there is evidence, there is a report from the health worker, and the parent is trying to connive with the perpetrator. Why can't you arrest them so that we help out these children? Thank you.
Arrest the parents who were conniving with the perpetrators to marry off the young girls.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and members of the House. I'm Rukundo Edwin, a legal professional here working with FIDA Uganda, Kabale branch. I perfectly want to submit on the issue of abortion. Mostly we have, without taking or giving prejudice to other issues of sexual reproductive health, but I want to emphasize on abortion, where our laws in Uganda don't encourage abortion, but we see most young girls take on the same. They really take on abortion, and what happens after they take it on? They take on abortion in the ways that are not recommended. They want to find some people who can help them out, get out the problem they are suffering from at that material time. But what happens is they are losing their lives. So what we have to do is get the policy implementers, implement laws legalizing abortion. I don't see too much of a crime in legalizing abortion, because we're looking at a scenario whereby a young girl is going to lose their lives because they're scared of losing their education. So if we really feel it is okay, you can get pregnant and still attain education, and we legalize that in that aspect, I feel we shall have a better way of resolving that issue of abortion and having unsafe abortion in this aspect which I'm talking about. I call upon all the stakeholders to look into the issue of abortion to be legalized. I don't think it should not be.
Recommendation is the legalization of abortion to stop young girls from using rudimentary methods, which might lead to loss of life. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Rukundo Edwin. We also have Samuel from Maristops, Uganda. Samuel, we really want some recommendations. Are you also banking on the legalization of abortion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Samuel Kakwenzere, the branch manager, Maristops Kabale, and a member of the District Family Planning Advocacy Group. I also want to define the adolescent and the teenager that we are talking about. We are saying this is a young person who is transiting from childhood to adulthood. The age is 13 to 19. And there is a misconception that most adolescents and teenagers are in school. It is not true that the majority of young people that we are talking about are school-going children. Others already employed in the workforce. We have commercial sex workers who are of that age. But I don't want to be in the blame game that we are blaming the religious leader, we are blaming the health sector, we are blaming the government, we are blaming the health officials. My recommendation is an integrated approach. It is for all of us. Teenage pregnancies affect all of us as a community entirely, and we stand a lot to benefit if we have the capacity to prevent these teenage pregnancies. We are going to reduce the infant mortality rate. As we come here in Uganda, we are losing almost 440 women per 100 births are dying when they are giving birth. And the most accelerating factor is teenage pregnancies. They are accounting to almost 30% of the women who are dying or giving birth. So we are saying the integrated approach of all of us, the community leaders, the probation office, the police, and us, the reproductive health caregivers, because people lack information. It is true. I visited a certain school recently in Kabale when the schools were opening, and it was shocking that someone told me that they were told that when you have unprotected sex to prevent pregnancy, you should take Coca-Cola, and you jump 5 times up and down. That you should take a Coca-Cola soda after having sex, and you have to jump up and down the Chichiga way 5 times, and the pregnancy is a mystery that you can't conceive. So there is lack of information, and people are not accessing information, and it is working against all the progresses that we have made. So we are recommending, as the providers who are meeting all these people, it is unfortunate that the issue has got out, is that the figures that we are reporting, that the 5,000 people that the young women who are pregnant are those who can access antenatal services. You know, they are the ones that we are capturing. Those who are able to come to the facilities to give birth are the ones that we are capturing. But there are those who don't show up at those facilities. So the statistics are bigger than that. Because in the western region, Kabale has the lowest statistics in teenage pregnancies. It is at 15.5%. Toro region has 20, Ankole has 18. The highest is in Busoga, that is reaching almost 30. But we are not celebrating that because the COVID-19 effect has increased the whole effect. But
I'm afraid we're running out of time.
The implementing partners and the NTV for hosting this People's Parliament.
Let's hear it and crown it all with the submission from the National Coordinator.